I am the daughter of a refugee and educators, the granddaughter of immigrants and farm workers who taught me that in order to advance, you reach for the hands of those around you. I was raised to be conscious and to recognize that power unchallenged is power conceded.
Stand up, fight back!
For the past 2 decades, the 9th Congressional District has been in a constant state of change, but our leadership has remained the same. When those who write policy for us no longer reflect the change in us, it's time for new leadership. Our district deserves a chance at something new. My name is Stephanie Gallardo. I am a teacher, and I'm running for Congress in Washington's 9th Congressional District. Let's walk this path together and envision something better.
Good evening. Welcome, welcome, as we are so proud here at BNC to introduce to you our latest addition to our slate for 2022. I am so excited to bring forward Stephanie Gallardo, who is running in Washington's 9th District. Stephanie is an educator, she is a union leader, and she is the change that is needed in Washington 9th Congressional District so that we have a Congress that looks like us, that speaks like us, that stands up for us. Because we do know that right now we are so divided in Congress and the people are the ones who are suffering. So here at Brand New Congress, we train, we support, we endorse progressive candidates who share our vision of returning the power to the people. So Stephanie, welcome this evening to just bring you aboard and let everyone get to know you and get to know your values and what you're going to fight for in Washington 9. So would you just tell us a little bit about yourself, Stephanie, and why you decided to run for Congress?
Yes, absolutely. Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here and be part of the BNC cohort. So my name is Stephanie Gallardo, and as Adrienne already mentioned, I am a high school history teacher. I also work with English language learners, and I'm also a union elected official on my state board of directors as well as my national board of directors. I actually recently just stepped away from all of my positions though, so that I could run this campaign full time. So it's very exciting, very scary, and I'm definitely feeling the pull, right? The pull to do something big with community, because that's really the reason that I decided to run for Congress is my young people, my students I work with, teaching them about United States history and the government and the 3 branches of government and all the things related to U.S. history. We really got into the nitty-gritty of what it means to have real representation. And in the time that I was working with students, we were also seeing people like AOC, Cori Bush, the squad being elected in Congress. And it really, really got the young folks excited about what the possibilities are for the future. And so they also know that I'm very into politics in terms of the life that I've lived, the family that I come from. And so they, have questioned me, and they've always been like, why don't you run? Why aren't you doing this? Why are you a teacher? And I tell them all the time, being a teacher is equally as important as being a politician. There is no job that is more important than one or the other. But it's really the young people that, pushed me into thinking about a political career. And it was also because of the fact that I recently, it was in January actually, I had a meeting with my congressional representative, my opponent, Adam Smith. And the meeting was very tense because it was a meeting between him and union leaders, including me. And it just was a meeting that we were not expecting to have in terms of, the tension that was existing in it. And I thought to myself, there's just no way that, this is what accurate representation looks like. What true representation looks like is when you're listening to your community members, when you're activating for your community. And so I thought to myself, I think I can do this. I think teachers belong in Congress. I think educators belong in Congress. And so that's why I'm here.
Well, we are so excited to have you a part of the Slate. You know, I'm also a teacher in public school, and one thing that we know for a fact is that we need teachers in education. I would always say that we have legislators who are making education policy, and they have no idea what's really going on in education. Because you got to wonder when's the last time one of them stepped a foot into a classroom. But I do want to ask you, you brought up something interesting about you had to step away from your positions to run for Congress. And that is one thing that people don't, may not understand is what you have to only give up, but the things that you have to do to run for office and just what it takes. So, can you just share a little bit about that? How hard was that to, give up what you were accustomed to doing in order to run full time for a congressional seat?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, I definitely think, the road I've chosen to take here in running for Congress, it's a very difficult road. And the decision to leave teaching was a very difficult decision. I've been an educator for over a decade, and I never thought that I was going to leave the classroom. I never thought that I was going to do anything different other than teaching my lessons, working with young people, and thinking about mentorship and things like that. But
Mhm.
the reason that I decided to leave was really because of the young people, and so that's what gave me the push. But the reality of running is it's very challenging. I'm a working class woman. The things that we have to go through as working class people to run for positions that mainly wealthier folks are running for, who have the means to be able to run for these types of positions, our experiences are much different. For example, now that I've left my teaching career, in just about 3 days, I will no longer have health insurance. And I've been researching health insurance, right and left, and it's $500 to $600 a month per person to pay for health insurance. And that's just not an income that I have at this time. So those are some of the real issues that we face running as working class people, and considering a path forward. But at the same time, I'm ready for this fight, and I'm encouraging others who are in the same position as me to remind yourself that we belong in these positions and we don't have to ask permission. We need to take our seats where we have them.
Right. I do like also in your video, you talked about we need people in office that reflect the change, and you're part of that change. We also need leaders who understand what it's like to be without health care insurance. Because I think as one who doesn't have health care insurance, you will be able to advocate better for to make sure we have Medicare for all. So, can you also tell us, when you were elected to Congress, what is the policy that you want to be known for? What would you consider your landmark policy that you're going to stand tall for?
Well, there's two things that I usually bring up in this type of question, and my first one I always go to is education policy, but I'm actually going to switch it up today, and I want to talk about immigration. So the
Okay.
policy that I would like to be known for is actually the lack of a policy. I want to ensure that we abolish the Immigrations and Customs Enforcement Agency. I think
Mhm.
it's increasingly important that we are taking care of immigrants and refugees, and the situation in Afghanistan has given us a glimpse of the need that is out there in our country to be receptive to immigrants and refugees, and be a place where people can be welcomed home, even though this will be a new home, a strange home, a home where they're coming, possibly bringing trauma. So that's the first thing that's on my agenda, is abolishing ICE and ensuring that we have a safe home for immigrants and refugees, and most specifically undocumented immigrants. Undocumented people, there's over 11 million in this country. And I have undocumented people in my family, and they deserve health care. They deserve access to an equal education, and they deserve every single thing that every other American in this country, deserves. And we're going to fight for that.
Excellent. And your second one?
My second
You
one,
said you
yeah. Well,
go
well,
ahead and talk. We gotta talk about education because
okay,
we're educators, so educators talk about education,
absolutely.
and especially with what's going on, how COVID really, well, I want to say this: teachers saved education during COVID. Teachers had to become all things at a real quick time. And so tell us a little bit about what you feel about education, what education policy that you know needs to be put into effect that you would fight for.
Absolutely. So I want to shout out Jamal Bowman for the work he's done recently to bring forth the Green New Deal for public schools. So many of the policies that he has in the Green New Deal for public schools are, incredibly important for the future of the schools in this nation. And one that I would add to, policies, including the Green New Deal for public schools, would be ensuring that every school in the country has nurses and counselors. And the reason I say this is because over the last year in my school district, in the year that it was COVID, we had no nurses for the entire year in a whole school district, not just one school. And so, young people, if they were worried about symptoms or, even worried about normal adolescent things, they had nowhere to go and teachers had to receive them. And we're not trained the same way nurses are trained. And so it's so important that we have nurses in schools, in every single school, not just, one per district or, one per 2,000, 3,000, 4,000 students. In addition to that, I mentioned earlier that we deserve to have more counselors in schools. I posted a tweet the other day, just, a laundry list of all the things that young people have experienced in the 4 years of their high school career if they're graduating next year. And it is a laundry list of, to be quite honest, pain, struggle, climate emergencies, death, violence. There's so much that our young people are experiencing that they need support to be able to get through this time period, just like, the rest of us need some mental health support to be able to get through a pandemic in this time, right?
Right. And when you talk about nurses, needing nurses in school, I've talked to people before who were just absolutely surprised that there are not nurses in every school. And they're not. And there needs to be a national policy regarding that. That's why we need teachers in Congress. That's why we need Stephanie to go to Washington 9 and to represent, because Stephanie, you will also be representing me here in Texas. So tell us how someone can donate to your campaign and how someone can volunteer to be a part of your campaign as well.
Yes, absolutely. So we are receiving donations through Act Blue. And if folks want to go ahead and check out our website, it's www.electgallardo, that's GALLARDO.com. And if you go to my website, everything is there. There's donate buttons in many different places, and you can find the donate button. My social medias are also the same, at Elect Gallardo, and that's Facebook, Twitter. I have a TikTok that I'm trying to grow and create some fun things, especially the Gen Zs are influencing me to be on TikTok, and I love it. It's innovative. So that's where y'all can find me.
Well, thank you so much. It has been a pleasure introducing you to the atmosphere to make sure, because we want you to represent us in Washington 9. I know you're going to give a good fight and you're going to make it happen. So we will talk again soon, but we wanted everyone to be meeting you this week when we announced you as joining our 2022 slate. And so we look forward to having so many more progressive representatives in Congress, because we got to have people in Congress that look like us, that vote like us, and that think like us, and ones that we can touch, because we have so many in office that are out of touch, and we're going to change that in 2022. And we're going to do that with Stephanie Gallardo to represent Washington 9. Thank you so much, Stephanie. Have a good rest of your evening. Thank you for tuning in and coming to join us. Good night.
Thank you so much, everybody.